Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mark Anthony's Music Picks. It's been about a month since I made a recording, and as I was talking about in my last Bedrock video, it's basically due to fatigue. But today I'm feeling up to the challenge, and I wanted to come back and do some more progressive house in my 150th episode. I think I talked about this in the Bedrock episode. I've been buying a lot of classic progressive house, and I would consider that to be the era from about 2000 to 2005, with the sweet spot being 2001 to about maybe 2004, if I'm being honest about it. And on the either end of that, it's not that there's not good music, but the 1999 2000 tracks are a little bit kind of raw and basic. I don't really like the sound banks for most tracks that were used at that point. And then as you get closer to 2005, yes, there's some winners in there, but it was kind of like music had lost its way. And kind of speaking of that, with vinyl prices, I kind of wanted to comment on the vinyl market right now. So I shop at Juno, or at least I used to, and I saw that a lot of the singles are getting up to about $15, $16, and then you add shipping in there. It's getting to the point where I'm kind of shutting it down, and that's a lot for me because I've been buying vinyl since 2004 as like almost like my primary hobby. It's like the thing that I like to spend my extra money on if I have any extra money. So for me to say I'm not really buying any new vinyl anymore, I've never actually said that in my life. And I also think that part of it too is that I think in hindsight, people are going to look back on this pandemic era of music and say, that was pretty bad section of music. Like I can take the 2006 to 2010 era and just say, I don't know, that was pretty bad. I mean, it's not that there's not hits in there. Obviously there are. But if you were buying vinyl on the regular from '06 to 2010, like, you got totally screwed. I mean, a lot of that stuff you would end up just throwing in a dumpster. Nobody wants it for $3 or $4 because it was just bad music. And if I look at modern progressive house that's being put out on vinyl right now, like I just I hate to be so negative, but I really just can't take it anymore. Like, All Day I Dream, I'm done. Lee Burridge, I love you as a DJ, but no. And like Lost and Found, I think they did their 100th release and they're wrapping it up. Like, it's like this like mushroom prog where everybody's like standing around shrooming during the day. And I get that it's like this like low-key 120 to 122 vibe, but how many of those tracks can you listen to in a row? I mean, to even DJ them, it's the most simple and boring type of music to listen to. And my friend Ryan, he referred to it as like minimalistic prog. I guess some people call it deep house, but it's just like, it's been rinsed, it's been mulched. Shanti Radio Moscow, same thing. Like, who really wants to hold on to these records in the long run? And like, I'm contrasting the old prog against these newer ones, because you can go back and get a lot of really good, I mean, like high caliber dark progressive house for $5 to $10, and the quality is so much better. And it's like, you don't really realize it. You listen to like enough modern music, and finally one hits like maybe like a 4 out of 5 stars, and you're like, oh wow, like, oh, I'm gonna, you buy that. But then you compare that to something from 2003 from these like producers that were like real masters of their craft back in the day, and it's like, that's a 5-star record. And it's like the 5-star makes even like the best modern 4 stars just look kind of weak in comparison. So anyways, that's kind of like my rant. I think in conclusion, I think we're in like kind of a down period for progressive music. I think music in general is kind of at a low point, and I'm okay with not buying new stuff for a while. Like, I'm not going to take it all the way down to zero, but I'm not going to be spending like $200 a month or $100 a month on new stuff when it's just like, it's not really delivering what I need. But anyways, Like I said, I've been picking up a lot of older records for $5, $7, $8 that I think are great, and I have five of them for you today from the classic era of progressive house. I think everything in this episode is going to be from 2001 to 2004. As I said, that's the sweet spot, and I tried to pick what I thought were five-star records for you to delve into. So my first one here is on a very prominent old label, and this is on Huge. And so the funny thing about Huge is, if you asked me my opinion on this label 4 or 5 years ago, I actually probably would have said something relatively negative about it. I don't know if there's old tracks on Huge from the late 90s, and they may have been the ones that people recommended me, and as I was saying in the beginning of the video, they're not really in my sonic sweet spot. So I think I sort of got an unfair impression of Huge. When people would reference it, I would just be thinking like, man, like I don't like any of those, because there's like late 90s Huge records that people love, and when I go and listen to them, I'm like, this sounds corny. Like, this is like corny 90s music. But if you get above the turn of the millennium and get into like 2001 and up, that's where it more like hits the right vibe for me. And this here is kind of like a derivative of a classic. So you'll see the artist here is 16B, also known as Omid. Omid is an Iranian producer that was really prolific in the early 2000s. Tons of aliases and variations on his artist name, but it's kind of like, I kind of feel like he was similar to Mo Chic, where you just knew that this guy just knew what he was doing. Like you could almost trust anything that he made to be at least above like 3.5 stars out of 5, and then like tracks like this, I would say coming up close to the 5-star mark. Now, the track here is Escape Driving to Heaven, and I saw on Discogs the original version of this, which has the colors like inverted. It's mostly white with a pink stripe, is the original mix by Omid, and that one has like a quite uplifting kind of Balearic vibe. Driving to Heaven, as the title would suggest, it has like a more airy, friendly vibe to it, and I would say a rather contentious vocal. Some people listen to that vocal and get irritated by it. I can kind of see it both ways. It's it has like kind of like a dark Depeche Mode type vibe to it, and I think that's why I actually like it. But I know people that really hate the vocal mix, and that's why I actually wanted to pitch to you the Omid Dark Dub here. It's loopy, it's progressive, it has a little bit of a touch of underlying that chunka chunka tribal rhythm that was very popular in '01 and '02. But I think just a really good example of Omid's ability to just make some really dark progressive. People consider Lexicon Avenue to be a staple of the dark prog scene. I definitely agree with that, and I'm actually debating on making a Lexicon Avenue episode in the future because I think they deserve their own tribute. Actually, I don't know if it's a single person or duo. I have a feeling it's two people. But either way, Lexicon Avenue was a big name. Anytime you see their name on pretty much any record, you should at least give it a listen, maybe even two listens to make sure and double check because they can kind of like straddle the line of a sleeper. And sometimes you can overlook their tracks, and then you hear it in the right context, and you're like, I'm getting it. This is pretty sick. In 2001, Lexicon Avenue released their From Dusk Till Dawn, a single which was really good, like just dark prog. And then in 2002, on the same label, Forensic, which is progressive. I don't know. Everybody knows the Forensic label with the cool little fingerprint here. In 2002, they came back with a remix pack, and you'll see some big names on this here. I'm gonna get close to the screen so you can see it. So there's a Sander K on the A side, which I was really close to doing this episode on, but I wanted to actually give a shout out to my homeboy Weekend World on the B side. He's not actually my homeboy. I don't know him, but his name is Martin Cartledge. And I think he's best known for his Weekend World alias, but he has like 10 or 15 other aliases that he also produces under. This guy I think he went a little bit under the radar, maybe a little bit underappreciated. I mean, I hung out on Trance Addict, and I talked to other progressive house heads, and I never had somebody like really say, dude, you got to check out this Weekend World record. But the more I go through that guy's catalog, the more cool stuff I find. And this is just a great dark chugger. If you wanted to convey to somebody like the nature of dark chugging progressive house, this would be a great record to show here. So this is Weekend World's remix of From Dusk Till Dawn, 2002 on Forensic. There's not too many super good progressive house vocals that I can think of, but man, when you talk about 5 stars, I mean, this is like completely undisputed in my opinion. And it's almost like I'm beating a dead horse or showing you something that you've already seen here, but maybe somebody that's just stumbled onto the channel and is a little bit younger missed the boat on this. But we have to talk about Holden and Thompson, Nothing. I recently just got this. I also had the version for many years on Cookies and Cream, but like I love the track so much that I wanted to have like the real original version of the vinyl, not like the knockoff that came out a year or two later on Cookies and Cream. I really like the aesthetic here of the purple on white and just like the design of the art here. Holden and Thompson is James Holden and Julie Thompson, and Julie Thompson is the vocalist here that absolutely crushes it with her rendition of Nothing. And when I listen to this track, the first thing that grabs me is the big claps. This track is featured in a lot of mix compilations. I mean, probably 50 or 100 mix CDs have this track in it because of how big it was. And when those big claps come in the intro and that pulsing bass line, there's really nothing that could touch this back in the day. I mean, just a ridiculous production. I've said before that James Holden was really at his peak from like '01 to '05, and he had a couple of outliers earlier and later than that, and those do deserve respect and attention. But I think if any James Holden fan is being honest, the '93 returning mix of Nothing here is basically when he was at his peak. One of the issues that I have with modern music is that there's people making music that aren't really professionals. It's easy, or relatively easy, to not know what you're doing and still get a track out the front door if you spend enough time on it. But back in the day, you basically had professionals remixing other professionals, and that's why the overall quality of music from '01 to '04, I think, is so high. And this is an example of a professional remixing a professional. This is the Britney Spears Every Time remix pack, and this came out in 2004. Now what's funny about this is you can see some of the track names on here, Above and Beyond. I'm actually featuring the Scumfrog vocal mix that's on the B side. What's funny about this is during the pandemic, I saw the official version of this selling for $50, $60, $70. Somebody might have paid $80 for the full artwork version. And then, I was like, well, I really like the Scumfrog mix, but I'm not paying 60 or 70 or 80 for it. If you can just settle for the promo version, there's copies for sale for $4. Like, there's near mint copies for $4. Like, do you really need the full art version for an extra $70? I mean, it's absolutely absurd. Just as like an aside here, the prices that people were paying during the pandemic are just absolutely insane. When I look at the price history and I see the 2021 entries, it's just like, you drop helicopter money on people, they will blow it on stupid shit. And a lot of people, as soon as they got their checks, they went to Discogs and just bought the near mint no matter what it was paying, and the sellers took advantage of it and just jacked their prices up. What a shit show. But now it's over. It's over, and the vinyl market is more dismal than I've ever seen in my life in the last 2 or 3 months. Like, Discogs is at an absolute stalemate, and you can tell, like, you could just tell the recession's coming. But anyways, that's an aside here. Back to the actual music here. Scumfrog did the remix of I.O. at the End in 2003, which I absolutely love. That's like one of my favorite progressive house tracks of all time. And then they followed up remixing Britney Every Time in 2004. And just listen to the breakdown and the sample here. You'll hear Britney's voice being played with, and then just dropping into that signature smooth, sort of dark sound that Scumfrog had on lock. And finally, closing out my episode, if you like Saul recordings, please check out you can search my channel. I did a dedication episode for Saul recordings where I think I reviewed maybe 7 or 8 of my favorite Saul titles. Now, the title that I'm about to review here is one that I only picked up in the last 6 months. Like, as much as I knew about the Saul catalog, somehow I just missed the boat on this, and I didn't pick it up until my friend Ryan sold it to me about 3 months ago. This is a prominent producer from the 02-04 era, Michael Burns, and he did a track called Into Nothing here. Now, Michael Burns is known for his softer takes. If you listen to his tracks Forward and Backwards, which are on the same EP, double EP, that's really nice, and that same softness is sort of reflected on the A side here. This is the A side, the original mix of Into Nothing. I have absolutely no issues with the original mix of Into Nothing, but I really wanted to feature Bill Hamel's take on the B side. And getting back to the concept of legit 5-star progressive house music, when you listen to this record, this is a record that will make other records look shitty in comparison, because Bill Hamel just absolutely knocked it out of the park. Like, if this were a home run, it would be up into the upper deck. And it comes down, listen to the way in the first 3 to 5 minutes, listen to the way that Bill builds the darkness of the bass line and keeps adding layers and intensity and stacks. Just when you think it's like maxed out, he puts another element in that works, and it takes the whole thing up a notch. I mean, it really is a masterclass in progressive house. And Bill Hamel died in 2018. I'm guessing it was from some sort of health issue, but I mean, this guy, when you look back on the classic progressive scene, I mean, he was the maestro. All right, this is all for my Progressive House Classics Volume 4 episode. I hope you enjoyed these picks. Feel free to comment down below any thoughts on anything that I talked about, and feel free to make recommendations as well. That's all for today, and take care.